Hello, everyone. Welcome to this exclusive event for Hammersmith and Fulham Council. It's about apprenticeships in the spotlight, hosted by Founders for Schools, and obviously we're in celebration of National Apprenticeship Week. My name is Gori Yahaya. I'll be hosting the session today, so I'm very excited to have you all join us today. And a huge thank you for all of you being here. You're spending your afternoon with us here today, to the students, the teachers, parents. Really excited that you're here to observe, and it's great to have you on the call today. And of course, a huge thank you to the council and sort of the staff members of the Hammersmith and Fulham Council as well. Very excited to have you. The session today is, it's really all about discussing the importance of relatable role models, right? How do you, how can you learn from these role models? We want you to have the chance to meet a few today, actually. So it should be a great opportunity and get an insight into the world of apprenticeships. So, this is the final day of National Apprenticeship Week. So you'll hopefully get to, better understand how their journeys, have come about, and hopefully you can be inspired by them as well. The event is brought to you by Hammersmith and Fulham Council and Founders for Schools. They're an award-winning EdTech charity. Their aim is to help students make informed decisions about their careers. Hopefully you'll hear a lot of that, today. So, learning a bit about how we can feel or give you some, inspiration about your career. And they've been working with the council for over a year now. The mission is really to give young people in the borough the best start in life they can. And connecting them to inspiring leaders is incredibly important, relatable role models. And we want to kind of drive that strategy, that inclusive growth for young people. So very excited to have this session running today. And we want it to be super interactive. So, for the audience that are at home, you can interact with us by using the Q&A box. So there is a box where you can ask questions. We are recording the session. So it's going to be featured on the Founders for Schools platform and on the YouTube channel. So hopefully there's going to be lots of people rewatching it and taking away some great tips. So, again, hopefully you're comfortable, get ready for the session. But actually, before I introduce the speakers, I want to tell you a bit about myself. So, who am I and why am I hosting this session? So my name's Gori Yahaya. So I am a serial entrepreneur. I am now onto my third startup. I run an organization called UpSkill Digital. We build learning programs for young people and help them hopefully recognize the skills that they need to be able to participate in work. We employ about 25 people or so, based in central London. I've had quite a roller coaster of a journey myself. As it happens, I was actually born in Hammersmith and Fulham. I was born in the borough, but I'm not going to go too far back, in terms of where my journey started. So it's incredibly exciting for me to be able to host this session. I think what is interesting is in my school experience, I definitely didn't realize the different sort of variety of paths available for me at school. There was a noticeable sort of lack of role models, that could really inspire me to do anything other than what felt like the traditional, from schooling system to potentially colleges or universities, and then into a graduate position or whatever with my first job. So actually throughout school, I struggled to decide on what subjects to take. I struggled to work out what my passions were. I think at GCSEs, I was interested in the sciences. I really kind of got into the computer sciences around sort of my A-level level. Like I really enjoyed playing with technology and getting hands-on with that. But then I left school and actually went to university, and I went back into the sciences and studied chemistry, of all things. I think I was just fascinated by chemistry at the time. But when I was going through the course, I spent 3 years there, and I realized that actually where my passions truly sort of lay were around digital tech, computers, devices, things that really got me excited by sort of engaging with people at scale. So my first job that I ever applied for was actually in a digital marketing agency, and I was an intern. I really just wanted to learn from some of the people that worked in the organization, and I actually spent time with the developers who were building branded websites. And I thought it was just an incredible thing to see how websites were created. So spending time with them, even in my own time, getting to learn a bit about how websites were built, really allowed me to build what I actually had, which was a small little portfolio of websites that I started to create. And at that time for me, I thought they were amazing, but now looking back, they didn't look particularly great. But I taught myself a lot of that sort of stuff, and that got me really excited in the power of digital, and really just sort of took it from there. I was fortunate in sort of my circle, my family, my extended family. There was a couple of people that had built their own businesses, and that was exciting because there were people that I could reach out to and hear their stories. And I always say it's really important if you can connect with people that have gone on journeys, if they've built businesses or they're taking slightly different career paths to what you might think you want to take, that you listen to their stories, which is why we run these events, right? Which is to get a better understanding of how people's paths have been shaped, and hopefully, ask questions and learn a bit about what they had to go through, and to hopefully inspire you as well. So, up to now, I now run an organization, as I mentioned, building learning, supporting young people. So it's kind of come full circle. My first ever hire in my organization about 5-6 years ago now was an apprentice. And, that apprentice was very lucky. They walked into a learning organization. So I invest a lot of my time into training them on digital marketing, how to, run a business internally, and they stayed with me for a number of years, and helped me grow the business, and I think it's really, apprenticeships are a really great way to get a real feel for an industry, get a real feel for a particular job and a role, and know if you like it, know if you enjoy it, know if it's something that you want to continue to do, learn from it. And testing different things is incredibly important. So I can't vouch for it enough, and I'm actually really excited because we've got a great number of speakers here that are going to tell you a bit about their journey. But as I mentioned, I'd love to make it an interactive session. So please ask questions in the Q&A box. Hopefully it's clear. We will have 2 speakers, and then afterwards we'll have a bit of time for questions and answers. So hopefully you can, ask some questions, and our speakers would love to answer those and give you a bit more insight into them as well. So look, firstly, I want to thank all the speakers for taking your time out to join us today. We are really looking forward to hearing your stories about apprenticeships, and what it takes to be a role model, and kind of your journey as well. So keen to hear from you. So enough about me, and looking forward to hearing your questions. But I'll start with our first speaker. Very excited to welcome Safia Jama. She's a CEO of Women's Inclusive Team, and they support disadvantaged women and their families, in London, and helping them to become independent and socially included. So, Safia, I'm going to ask you first, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and talking a bit about how you started off your journey, a bit about your approach and the challenges that you faced. So I'll hand over to Safia too.
Gosh, I'd like to first say thank you for inviting me. I'm really happy to be a part of this discussion, and such an inspiration to hear from you as well in terms of your journey. And just to say, actually, I'm here just to be inspired and to be around colleagues, and know that inspiration doesn't end. We need that. It's our fuel to continue. And so for me, I guess I was from primary school to secondary school. I'm an East London girl, specifically Tower Hamlets. I obviously, just by the background and the community I come from, there's so many barriers and challenges that we face. Being Black, being Muslim, and then being Somali comes with those challenges. And obviously being a woman, there's a lot of barriers and challenges that come from that. So just to say, that's me in terms of my identity and how I see myself. And it's really important to come from that position and to be proud of who I am. And so for me, identity was a huge issue, and finding myself in terms of knowing that I am proud to be who I am. And knowing that actually in my journey that I did not allow that to be hindered in any way. And so that's probably my route in terms of my fuel and my motivation. And just to say, actually, we have barriers, and we know that society has, COVID actually has demonstrated so many barriers that we all face, and Black Lives Matters also expose the inequalities that as young Black people that you guys face, and that's really important for us to note that. So for me, definitely my route was not the typical one, and there is no typical one. There is no shoe that fits anyone. One shoe fits everybody concept really doesn't exist. You have to find your own way, and find what you're comfortable and happy with. And if you want to push things back or you want to do things now, that's up to you. And for me, I was very much like that. So I had siblings that went to uni. I come from a large family. For me, uni wasn't what I wanted at that precise time. I did later on, as I had my children, decided that I wanted a degree, and that was something that I wanted to, because you've got to be interested in the path that you choose. It has to be from you and for you, and it has to kind of reflect your interest as well. But I started working. I'm a strong believer in volunteering. I'll tell you a little bit about the different volunteer opportunities that I'm involved, because that really made me taste different platforms and careers and positions. And so when I was at a point where I was like, actually, I know what I want to do now, because I've seen all these different things that I've been involved in. And definitely for me, one drive in terms of my story or to Women's Inclusive Team, which is a charity that I'm a CEO to, was definitely that I knew there was a lot of inequalities, that being Black, being Somali, being Muslim, there were so many things that I felt that weren't fair. And so this was my innovation of trying to problem solve and create that solution for our community. And so little things like not being able to go on a residential trip, because mum and dad, actually from a good place, didn't want me to go on residential trips. And I was like, well, actually, if I create that safe environment, not only are girls like me able to go to that, but it's about solving a problem. And so the organisation has grown now. We've got an early years setting that sort of helps mums sort of understand the importance of early years. So again, it's very much we respond to what the community is saying, and tackle some of the stakeholders and the challenges that's being faced there. But definitely, as an organisation, we're at a point where we have, around more than 40 staff members that are with us. We've got 2 apprenticeships that are actually doing a level 7 accounting apprenticeship, which is a huge achievement, given young Black people the chance to achieve. And actually, as an organisation, 70% of our service users are Black, but we're open to all, because we really believe as young people, you have challenges and you have barriers in today's society, and we know that that's only going to get worse with the current situation that we find ourselves in. And so for me, in terms of keeping my motivation going, and what do I think we all have a role to play in terms of developing ourselves, developing our community and society. Society often tries to put us in boxes and say, well, you're this, and so you are here. I'm a believer in breaking all boxes and making sure that we keep our identity, and we experiment and we explore and we find whatever is in our need. And actually, if there's a problem or a solution, you can be the solution. You don't have to wait for someone else to do something. You can do it, and it's about having that belief in you, and believing in yourself. Actually, there's responsibilities that come with that, in terms of having yourself autonomy, having control of your time, making sure that you push yourself, that you don't wait for someone to tell you something, that you are the storyteller, you are the forger of your future, which is really important in terms of doing that. So what is the history or the legacy that you want to leave behind for yourself? What is that goal that you want? And even though society expects you to have a 10-year plan or 20-year plan, actually, where do you want, what career do you want? That's a big question, actually, but what are you interested in now? What do you want to experiment now? What do you want to explore a little bit further? And you can do that in so many different things. So for me, for example, I'm an independent police advisor. Why did I get involved in that? Is actually I want to be influencing stakeholders and making sure stakeholders understand the needs of the people that I represent. The young people like yourselves that find it really hard in terms of the policing and community safety. Also, housing is such an issue, overcrowdedness and all those things. So I've been a board director for over 8 years. And also an advisor to Scotland Yard for counter-terrorism, and making sure that actually they understand the needs of the Muslim community or the Black community, or just making sure that we are collectively united in solving and making that better community for one another. Every single thing that I get involved in, I promise you, there is a help to help the wider community, what's in the interest of the best wider community. But there is also a selfish gain here. It's about me rubbing shoulders with people. It's about me learning about different organizations and how they work. It's about me gaining confidence and self-esteem and building my network. Network is something so big, and it's about knowing different people to turn to. So it's constantly like we're on that development. And even though that I might be the CEO, and I am extremely lucky to be running a women's organization that I am passionate about, you know, having an amazing team behind me, having a personal assistant just to help me with my workload and what that looks like. But that is a beauty and a blessing. But I tell you what, my journey is not finished, and you're constantly saying, actually, what can I do to build myself? And I think for me, in terms of you know, my personal success is not one that's individual to me only. It's about my community. And obviously, as a mother of 5 young people, and one of them is an apprentice, one's going to university, you know, the other ones are studying at secondary school. How can I be a positive role model? But actually, it's a two-way thing where they are positive role models. As most of you, some of you might know, actually, is that I have 2 young people that are diabetic. And my daughter, I've only got one daughter who went to university outside London. She had to break so many barriers in a community that I come from, being a girl, being Muslim, having a medical condition, and going out there and doing something that people in our community were like, what are you doing, was big. But she inspires me and motivates me to say, actually, she had the strength and the will and the motivation to do that. So actually, when you look at role models, it doesn't have to be someone who was successful, who was wow, who's achieved, you know, everything, but rather it could be people that show you strength, show you that they know who they are and they have a goal and they achieve that goal. So look around you and find those people and keep those people close to you. And also know that actually you need to be making sure that the people around you are people that you that are motivating you, that are guiding you to be the best person that you are. And likewise, it's not just a one-way road system. You've got to be the best person around them as well, and making sure that you give them support and motivation, that you guide and enable each other to flourish, which is really important. But generally, you are faced with lots of challenges. Being resilient, being tough, knowing what you want, and connecting with that is really important. And I guess that's so far what I have. I don't know if you want me to add anything on there, Gori, or.
No, that's really incredible. That's very inspiring. I think you just said some really great points. You know, trying to be that storyteller. You know, be interested in your path and know that your passions will also change. I think there's some really amazing points. You are right. Role models come in all shapes and sizes, right? You know, you can't know exactly who they might be, but be close to them, learn their story, and ask the questions. I think that's really you know, exciting. And I'm sure we'll move into some questions. So, thank you so much for you know, giving that talk through. And I want to move on to our next speaker, Ladan. Ladan Mohamud. She is an apprentice in the council for regulatory compliance officer apprentice. I think that's cool. Hopefully that's correct. Ladan, if you can, you know, again, please talk to the audience. Tell them a little bit about yourself and your journey and your story. You know, we'd love to hear it.
I definitely would love to share my journey. So I am currently doing a regulatory compliance officer apprentice, and I work across 2 departments, and that's trading standards and licensing. How I got here, I remember I was at a stage in my life where I thought, I want a career change and I want to be able to help my community. And I have been a resident in Hampstead and Fulham for as long as I can remember, when my parents first moved from the Netherlands. So English is the only language I know, of course, and my mother tongue, Somali. But I wanted to be able to feel like I was doing a fulfilling job, and I wanted to be involved in the community, specifically my community, being a Black Muslim woman. I wanted to be able to do something for Black people in my community, as well as other communities, especially the youth. And I remember I was going around to non-profit organizations trying to organize something where I can help the youth and, you know, see what I can do for the youth, things like that. And I remember I was walking by the library and I saw a sign that said an event held by Hammersmith and Fulham, and I popped in. I thought, let me just check this out and see what it is. And it was really interesting. I got so much support, and I could see Kamal and Jack put it on the chat. Thank you so much for doing that. The information you can find WorkZone help out with, you know, CVs, interviews. And I remember I went there, you know, saw the opportunities available, saw an apprenticeship. And, you know, the amazing thing about apprenticeship is you can join an apprenticeship from 16, I don't know, in your early 20s or maybe in your 30s. There's you know, it doesn't matter what age you are, because you are selected for what you can bring and your skills that you possess. And from there I applied, and it took a lot of work. And one thing I would like to say to the youth, especially that are in this, you're going to have to work very, very hard to get to where you want to be. The same way you revise for exams, the same way you sit and, you know, you get 60 out of 100, you redo that test, next time you get 70, you redo that test, next time you get 80. That is the same way life works. So an apprenticeship is the best route, but know that you have to work very hard to get into that apprenticeship. You have to do a lot of practice. You need to show enthusiasm, and you know, the employers that are going to give you the job, they need to see that enthusiasm. So now is the time for you to, you know, listen to the, you know, amazing stories being shared and take something from that, and know that it's going to take hard work, but you can get there. And the amazing thing about some of the apprenticeships that Hammersmith Fulham are offering, the levels range from GCSE all the way up to a master's degree. Imagine master's degree, you know? So, you know, if you are somebody that you feel like maybe the university route is not for you, this is another way of you, you know, building your career. And if you also feel like taking the university route and later on coming back and taking the apprenticeship, it is still open to you, because we choose, you know, in Hammersmith Fulham, people are selected based on what they can bring and their attitude, and, you know, how much they're interested. So I would definitely tell you, please check the Hammersmith Fulham website that Jack posted on the chat, and WorkZone as well, because they definitely support. I know somebody asked about what opportunities there are and what support there is. But for me, my day-to-day life right now working, a lot of people think apprenticeship is, you know, you're somebody's personal assistant, you know, you're making coffee and things like that. But it's nothing like that. You get serious responsibilities from the very first day. My first day in my apprenticeship, my manager said, "Are you ready to conduct some visits?" And I thought, that fast, you know, that fast? I'm doing serious tasks, serious responsibilities. And it just made me feel like, you know, I'm so happy I took this route. I was so, you know, I felt included. I felt, you know, supported by my team. And that's one of the benefits of doing an apprenticeship. You are not treated like you are an assistant, a personal assistant for anybody, but you're a member, a valued member of the team, and people are invested in your development. Like, my managers are always asking me what next steps you have. And another amazing benefit of doing an apprenticeship with Hammersmith and Fulham, because I can only speak on, you know, my experience so far, is, you know, the journey doesn't end once your apprenticeship comes to an end. I'm approaching the end of my apprenticeship, and, you know, my managers are invested in my next steps. And that's something that you may not necessarily get if you take the university route, because once you finish university, you're at that standstill where you're like, okay, what do I do now? Whereas, you know, the apprenticeship route, you're guided through even after your apprenticeship ends. You know, you're supported to get into further employment. You're supported, you know, maybe doing a higher level apprenticeship. So I would definitely say, in terms of support, amazing support and development. You know, the staff are extremely invested. And yeah, it's just been an amazing experience. If anybody has anything to ask, please ask away in the chat. You know, I'm more than happy to share more about my experience if I've left anything out or anything like that. So yeah.
Thank you so much. That's incredible. I just want to say thank you for both speakers, and I've got lots of questions for myself, but can I encourage anybody that's in the audience to please ask questions into the chat box. If you have them for Ladan or Safiya, they'd love to take them. But it sounds like you've been through an amazing journey, and I love the fact that on your first day, Ladan, that you were basically having to go on site visits. So, you might thought it was an easy ride, but it wasn't. You had to jump straight into work, right?
Yeah, that's one of the most amazing things. I remember coming back thinking, I made the best decision by taking this route of doing the apprenticeship, because it's about the culture, the work culture, and feeling like, your ideas and, you as a individual are valued, and it has nothing to do with your background, your race, your ethnicity, your gender, simply what you can bring and your skills, and that's it. And I really love that. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a really good way to kind of showcase it. And we do have a couple of questions coming through, but one question I want to ask was, what is it that students can do right now to prepare themselves for an apprenticeship? Where can they start looking, and a little bit about the process as well that you took to actually apply for that? It'd be really good if you could share that.
Yeah, so honestly speaking, so what I would say to young students in year 10, year 11, year 12, year 13, I would say focus on getting your grades first and foremost. Focus on all of those lessons that are extremely important, that will be relevant later on when you do go into an apprenticeship, because some of the application process requires you to have English skills, grammatic. You'll be writing letters to counselors, you'll be writing emails to residents. You can't make grammar mistakes, you can't make spelling mistakes. So focus on your English, focus on your maths, finance. There's a lot of finance in some departments. You're dealing with money, so it's very, very important that you try to get your GCSEs, get a good level where you pass, and work hard. Do not give up. That's one thing I would say to you. And the process is and again, you can contact the Work Zone, because they support with interview. They also support with just reviewing your answers in the application process. I think there's certain key skills that they expect you to show in your personal statement, and yes, you will have to write a personal statement where you express why you want to do this apprenticeship and how you can be how you will be the best person for the apprenticeship. So all of this requires skills like good English, good level of English. And the other good thing is, even if you can't even if you don't have GCSE level, we provide that level as well. We support individuals that don't have that level, that can do entry level, GCSE level apprenticeship. So I would say definitely contact Work Zone, and see if somebody from the team can support you with the personal statement and things like that. But the process was very simple. I was actually unsuccessful. That's something everybody should know. When I actually originally went for my interview, I didn't get the job. Yes, I didn't get the job. But the team, Jack and the managers that were there, they thought I possessed, skills that were very, very useful. So that I got a call back, and that call back put me into a talent pool. And this is another thing. So just because you are not successful doesn't mean that you're not wanted and you're not seen for your skills. I was put into a talent pool, and I got a phone call back a few weeks after, and I was surprised, because normally when people say we're going to call you back, I used to think I'm never calling you back. But in this case, I definitely got a call back, and it was, it really it surprised me, and I thought, okay, they actually did see something good in me. They did see something that they felt like I could bring into Hammersmith and Fulham, and I did get the second interview. I got the job. So yeah, so it's not always, you don't always get a happy ending, but sometimes you get a lot of no's before you get the final yes. And I definitely think people, any young students that are looking into apprenticeship, one thing you will need to be is strong-minded and believe in yourself that you will achieve the things you want to achieve. It may take 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, but you will achieve it, as long as you are set on achieving those goals.
Absolutely. I think it's so It's so important, that resilience piece. Like you're going to get knockbacks, and how do you make sure you can step up there as well? And we do have a couple of questions, but I'm actually going to jump to Safia on that resilience piece, because I know you do talk a little bit about what it means to tackle the challenges that are in your way, especially if you don't get that first shot. What is it that you can do to be to toughen yourself up to make sure that you're ready for that? So I'd love to hear from you about how important is it to have that resilience piece, and what does it mean?
Wow, resilience is such a huge thing, isn't it? And it looks different for everybody. But ultimately, it's for me, it's about actually what keeps you going. How do you bounce back when things are not going? And also, I think it's about mindset for me. It's knowing that actually, everything doesn't have to be 100%. You don't have to get the first job, straight away in your first interview. You don't have to get the ideal job. That you might have to get a few jobs in between. And so that's really important. And I think when you have a mindset where you think everything should be rosy and cozy and beautiful, and all you do is you set yourself up in terms of motivation, even your mental well-being. And we know that mental well-being is a huge factor for young people, specifically around, I guess, COVID and the lockdown and the challenges that you're facing, the uncertainty with your exams and your future, and not knowing, I guess, even when you apply for something and you don't know what's happening in 3 months' time, you really don't know. It all depends on what you're expected to. So there's a lot of challenges there. But for me, it's definitely about believing in yourself, knowing that there will be humps, cracks on the road, that you will trip a few times, but you just have to rise. And the reason that you're rising is because you have a place to go to, and even though that you don't know where that place is, it's about just making sure that you keep going, and keep experimenting and keep exploring. But most importantly, I think one thing that a lot of people don't do is ask for help. I ask for help all the time. And if something is challenging for you or a little bit hard for you, ask for help. Ask for help when it's early as well. Even if your mental well-being isn't in a good place and you're finding it hard to sleep, ask for help now, because when you get early help, it means that we have more time to try and solve things. Don't wait for things to be at a point where you should have started a course by now, or you should have applied for something, and because you're so worried and your anxiety, or you wait for things to deteriorate. So definitely asking for help is really important. And like I said, go and having those positive people around you, because those are the people that see you, and also be a pillar for your friends as well. It's not just about getting support, but be supportive for your friends and create that positive environment for yourself. But just make sure that you nourish yourself, you're academically, spiritually, if that works for you, and you grow, whatever that growth looks like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that strength and making sure that you look after yourself whilst you're going through that is really, really important. And actually, we got a question from Melissa in the chat, which asks, and I can direct this one to Ladan, which is, how do we demonstrate that we're the right apprentice for the role? What can we do to make sure that that we look like we are the right apprentice, and especially if we lack experience in that certain field, what can individuals do to be able to make themselves look like they're the right apprentice?
There's several things that you can do to help yourself get that experience. Voluntary working, signing up, and doing short courses. But what I would say is, in terms of trying to get an apprenticeship within Hammersmith Fulham, Work Zone provide a lot of support, self-development support, interview skills. Where you lack experience, they find a way to show that in your application. So for example, if you want to go into finance and you have an A star in maths, that is something that will be really considered as somebody that has experience, because your level is high. It shows you have the capability of dealing with numbers. So it's how you view things. So don't think to yourself, okay, I don't have experience, and because I don't have experience, I won't get this job. It's about how you can reflect that into your application to show that you are suitable. And you can flip anything into something positive. Your maths grade, your English grade, your science grade. Science requires health and safety. you know, and that could be applied at work, health and safety at work. How do you apply health and safety when you are doing experiments? You know, there's so many ways you can flip the things you do day to day in school and use that to reflect on your application. And that is what I would recommend to any students that are looking and feel like I don't have the experience. You do have the experience. You have the experience that you've obtained from being in education from a very young age all the way up to if you're doing it up to year 13 or year 11. So all those lessons, IT lessons, science lessons, maths lessons, all of those can be considered as experience. So don't feel like, okay, just because I don't have this, I can't apply for this position. You are more than welcome to apply, and WorkZone will provide you further support, more support than, you know, the things that I'm saying right now. So definitely contact them.
Absolutely, no, it's fantastic. I think, you know, it's how you frame the experience you have. You know, I think a lot of people don't understand that some of the things that they've done can be turned into really great experience. And if you don't have experience, you know, I know even as an employer, when I'm, you know, looking at for individuals or candidates, I like to see what they've worked on, right? The things that they've done, and actually often it's when they've done them off their own back. So it could be volunteering in something, for example. So, and there's a question here about volunteering in work placement. So somebody's asked, you know, Safia, would you recommend work placements and volunteering? And I was going to ask you the same question, actually, because I know you talked a bit about volunteering briefly. So I would love to know kind of, you know, how can people approach volunteering, and you know, how powerful is it, you know, to help you get that experience that you need?
Gosh, I'm a strong advocate for volunteer. I'm sure people have heard me saying this. I still do volunteering. I do lots of volunteering. Like I said, it's about networking. It's about building my capacity. And as young people, just like Ladan said, actually, when you apply for something, they do want experience. Ultimately, when I employ someone and I do an interview with someone, I want to hear those experiences. It could be, you know, your normal day-to-day experience. It could be your school experience. But actually, what really stands out for me when I see, you know, young people really going the extra mile and being a part of something or an organization, or even coming to us and saying, actually, I want to be involved in, because we have a Barnardo's project for young people, or I want to be volunteering at the Early Years project, or the health and well-being and working with NHS, whatever different projects. And they say, actually, I want to experiment and see and explore what that means. And actually what they're doing is not only, you know, the CV is just a paper, yeah, but the experience that person gets and gains, the knowledge that they get, the reference even from work-wise, you know, I'll be giving them a reference because based on their performance, you know, they can put me down. And some of them, actually, I would say a lot of volunteers, when they demonstrate how good they are, actually employment in that organization is likely impossible, because you've proven yourself. You've gone out of your way and you've gone there not to gain financial gain, but because you're passionate or you're interested, and you've demonstrated that. It means even if you don't get a job from that point, you will definitely get, you know, it will help you in terms of that climbing up that ladder. And volunteering actually gives you the opportunity as a young person also to try out different careers, you know, to say, actually, am I interested in health? Am I interested in, I don't know, housing, whatever it might be? And actually finding that interest, you know, saying, can I do 1 week work experience or 2 weeks work experience? And, you know, we've got a social media department. I know that, you know, there's a place opening up soon. It's going to be the volunteers that will know the most knowledge and who is best able to apply for that job and know all the right answers. So it's about actually positioning yourself to know the ins and outs of that role, to have the rapport and to have a track record in that organization. And so please think about, you know, I always say, you know, it is a form of charity. Charity is not just about giving money, it's about giving your time and your passion and your expertise, but also it's about building yourself in terms of your capacity and contributing to an organization or a charity or a cause that you're interested in.
Thank you so much for that. I think that's very inspirational. And I have another question here, which is from Alan, and I think I will direct this one to Ladan. He's asking, or they're asking, was it hard to adjust when you started your apprenticeship? So, you know, it would be great to hear a bit about that story.
So no, actually, the adjustment was not hard at all. I think, if anything, the most, like the part that I had to put in most of the work was prior to, which is, preparing for the interview, applying, conveying my message so that I can get that interview. That was the hard part. The easy part was once they said you got the job. Again, I said it before, I'll say it again, the support you get is, it's motivating. It motivates you to want to do better. It motivates you to want to complete your studies. And that's one of the positive things I can genuinely say about doing an apprenticeship, is just, the managers and the staff are invested in your development. So in that sense, I didn't see any difficulty. So yeah.
Appreciate it. And actually, talking about the investment, just to pick on that point, it was a really good point about the employees being invested in your journey, because often, people feel like I'm just doing that apprenticeship and then I'm out and that's it, it's all done.
Yeah.
But actually, even when I took on my first apprentice, it's really important that I invested in them. And so once they'd finished, I knew that they had an opportunity with me moving forward. So it's really important to make sure that 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 there is an opportunity for you after you've completed the apprenticeship.
Like, I just want to give a quick example for the students that are listening. My manager, like, I'll get, and from the very beginning, I'll get like an assignment, and they would come to me, how can I help you? How can I get you to achieve the grade that you want? What do you need? And for me, that was like, the moment I knew, yeah, I made a good decision by taking this apprenticeship. So definitely, anybody's thinking about it, go to the Hamza Film website or WorkZone.
Brilliant. And we're going to be running out of time, so probably got a chance for like a final question or two. One question that we had, and I'll try and sort of merge two together, was about your own careers. So we have one question, which is, what does a typical day look like, for yourself in your job? And then I'm going to ask also, what do you enjoy most about your career? So I might only give you maybe a minute or so each, but if I can start with you, Safiya, if you can just talk me through typical day and what do you enjoy most?
Wow. So I'm a strong believer in getting up early, and for me it starts off with my morning prayer, and it gives me a bit of a structure in terms of setting a day for me, and starting with just clearing. It's almost like a meditation for me, definitely. And then I have my PA at 8 in the morning telling me all the stuff that I have to do that day and all the deadlines, and structuring. So structure is really important, and I feel in control. And then I have lots of boring Zoom meetings back to back, and then there's an hour where I actually decide, do I need to send any emails or follow up or so on. So that's probably, but I oversee like 4 different departments, and but I'm really lucky. I have 2 directors working with me, who are my right arm in terms of getting things done. And what do I enjoy? For me, everything the organisation does, it's about being the voice, being the passion, being given that trust from the community to represent them in positions of power, and making sure that actually they're not forgotten, because they have been forgotten for many years. So making sure that the Black community, BAME community are definitely not forgotten, and seeing that change in I guess strategic perspective is definitely powerful and keeps me going.
Thank you so much. And Ladan?
So a day to day, I would wake up, I'll go through my emails. Again, I work across 2 departments, so time management is key. Sorting out the email, seeing what's important, prioritizing things, putting in intelligence on the system, maybe answering phone calls, sometimes responding to emails from residents, responding to emails and queries from businesses. What else? Team meetings, well-being meetings. Ever since lockdown, we've had like well-being meetings where, just so that staff feel like, lockdown has caused a lot of mental stress to a lot of people. So again, your mental health is really important to staff. Little catch-ups with managers to see if you're mentally doing okay. And then towards the end, just finish up reports, investigation reports. And yeah, that's just a day. I've kind of just put it all together in one. But yeah, I'm not making tea and coffee, so I'm just letting you guys know.
Brilliant. No, really appreciate that as well. And again, we are going to be running out of time, and I'm loving that we've got lots of great questions coming in, but we've also got people answering those questions within the chat, which is fantastic.
Yes.
So I'm going to have to wrap up and say, firstly, thank you very much to all our guests. Been super inspirational, very insightful. It's been a really engaging discussion. I'd love to hear your stories. I'm sure, I speak for everyone when I say, today has been a really good learning opportunity for us, to learn about apprenticeships and learn about, how you get into your careers. I want to thank all the students, the council staff, especially educators, home, schooling, for joining, and all your wonderful questions. It's been a real pleasure to run this session. Please do look out for the recording. As I mentioned, this is a recorded session, and so it'll be on the Plans for Schools platform and on the YouTube channel as well. If you're not already following Founders for Schools, is that Founders for Schools? Do follow them on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the rest of them. So please do engage and share the work, share these insights, share these stories with your friends, with your family. The opportunities are there. As Ladan said, within the council as well, there's some great opportunities in Work Zone and hopefully helping you kind of engage. Educators, again, the Founders for School teams are really looking forward to hear from you. I want to open it up to both of you. Finally, maybe just 30 seconds. Any last words, for the audience? Any words of inspiration that you'd like to give to them before they go off and continue on their journeys? I'll start with Safia first.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm going to look out for Hammersmith and Fulham young people who I'm sure will stand out. And so I look towards your success and what your success looks like. All the best. Thank you.
I would say focus on your education, and once you complete it, and you know what you want, do not give up. It's going to be hard. You may get a lot of no's, but do not give up. Please don't give up. And contact Work Zone and Hammersmith Fulham. Check the Hammersmith Fulham website for any opportunities.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, both. I really appreciate the time and your time, and it's been super inspirational. And thank you, everyone, again. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and looking forward to hear the incredible stories going to come off the back of this.